Hey yo, welcome back to the channel everybody, and today I've got something kind of cool. We're going to do part 1 of my vintage 12-inch Kenner Boba Fett restoration. Now this Boba Fett is very special. I've had him since I was a child. I got him for, I think it was my 5th or 6th birthday. I've had him all these years, and I even had the original Boba Fett, the OG, Jeremy Bulloch, none other than Jeremy Bulloch, sign him, and it's in silver Sharpie on his chest. It says Jeremy Bulloch Boba Fett, and I absolutely love this thing. It's so cool, and I thought it was kind of a unique signature to get on a cool piece. If you're not familiar with this vintage item, he's missing his missile, which is actually a 4-part missile. So we got some tracking down to do on that. He also has a cape that he puts on his side, as well as finally he has Wookiee braids that go over his shoulder. So here we go. We're going to take a look at this figure. We're going to lightly clean him with a little bit of detergent. We're going to clean his gun. There's his gun. It's complete. There's his belt, and that's kind of grimy and dirty. And we've got a little bit of work to do on the backpack as well. So this is going to be a very simple and quick thing. I'm going to take some power wash. I'm going to take a soaked sponge, and I'm going to use a very, very, very fine mascara brush because I really don't want to use a toothbrush or anything too abrasive. So we're going to start just by getting the grime and the grease off of this belt. And whenever you're working on some of these older 12-inch Kenner figures, you got to remember the plastic is pretty brittle on the main figure, and this rubberized plastic is pretty good, but still, I don't want to take any chances. I'm going very light with a very light detergent mixed with plenty amount of water and just a very light touch, and especially with this gun. Now, this gun is made out of a pretty resilient plastic, but there's a loop on the stock, and that stock swings over his shoulder. So that's, of course, a very fragile area of concern. So I'm just going to be very ginger with this thing. The backpack has all kinds of nooks and crannies in it, and there's also a hole that goes from the top to the bottom that the string passes through, and we'll get to that in a minute. So I'm just going to take my time, and I'm going to go with a slightly heavier concentration on some of these parts because there's a lot of grime built up in those nozzles, the rocket nozzles, and some other places. And then just a quick dippery-do in the water, just a warm water, and just getting the rest of the detergent off of it, and I'm just going to let it air dry. There's a couple of screws on the backpack, and I'm really careful not to get the screws wet with the water. I don't want any rust or corrosion to occur. The rubbery plastic of the belt tends to grip dirt and grime a little bit better, so I just have to take a moment and give it one more little quick brush. Look at all the grime in that water. Now we get to the figure, and I have to take special care, very special care. I'm going to give that signature in that silver Sharpie marker a wide berth. I'm going to go around it and take special care that nothing drips or runs down onto it as well. That's a nerve-wracking endeavor right there. And once again, the figure is held together with a couple of screws. You can see the screw holes there. So I'm going to take special care, and I'm not going to put the detergent or the brush in there. I'll take some Q-tips and just sort of swab them out very, very lightly. And there's his helmet, taking special care. Now there's a feature on the back of the helmet there. That's actually an eye port for the kid, and you look through it and you can actually look through Boba Fett's helmet. So that's kind of a cool thing. So you're just taking just some special care to make sure you get all those areas. It's fun to think about how when I received this toy as a child, I had no idea who Boba Fett was. He was part of the build-up to the Empire Strikes Back movie, and that when that was released in 1980, nobody had any idea who Boba Fett was. So this was an all-new character. This was the pinnacle of excitement. If you were a kid into Star Wars back in the late 70s and early 80s, this was mind-blowing. We could not wait to figure out and see what Boba Fett was going to do in The Empire Strikes Back. So like I said in the beginning of the video, I've owned this exact figure nearly my entire life. And so it's high time I revisit him and get a lot of the parts and pieces. So as soon as we're done cleaning this up, I'm going to show you some of the pieces that I've tracked down to get him closer to completion. And of course, before we start piecing him back together, I'm just taking a damp paper towel and I'm just wiping down any of the remaining power wash, paying very close attention to that signature. And there's a great close-up of that awesome Jeremy Bulloch signature. I was fortunate enough to meet him twice at conventions, and he actually remembered signing it the second time, which was pretty cool. Now let's turn our attention to this backpack. Here it is, it's all cleaned up and dry, and it's time to add some of the parts that I was able to track down. So I was recently on eBay and I found some reproduction parts that I'm very happy to finally add to this backpack. So original parts, the missile, the hook, the loop, the string, that can run up to $200 for originals, and I just don't have it like that. Now this O-ring is made out of a hard plastic. It's not just a rubber O-ring that you'd buy at the hardware store. And the line loops around those two cleats at the bottom. And of course, Kenner, back in the day, didn't do any sort of fancy knot work. They just tied a square knot around the bottom, ran it through, and tied a square knot around the O-ring. So here's the backpack all assembled with the rocket, the hook on the top, the line going through, the O-ring, and the string. So here's what the string looks like when you wrap it around those cleats. And that string was cool because you can pretend that you're shooting the rocket out, and that string is gonna reel it back in every time. So let's reel that string back in, wrap it around the cleats, and let's affix this backpack to Boba Fett where it belongs. I remember as a kid, I don't think I ever reeled the string in and wrapped it around these cleats once. I always remember just dangling down between Boba's legs. Now, at the time of this recording, I am 53 years old. I got this when I was 5 or 6. So this is many decades later. I am finally completing one of my absolute favorite childhood toys, and this is really kind of a special moment to make something that has been incomplete for so long, to make it whole again, is very satisfying. Now this is pretty straightforward. The backpack just plugs into 2 slots in his back armor. Now let's take a look at him. So this is where we're at with the backpack. I have never seen this figure like this, at least in 40 years. Call it 40 years. 45. So now here's a moment. We're gonna put the weapon back over. We're gonna sling it over his left arm, and that looks pretty cool. And now it's time to add the vintage cape that I was able to track down. So this is an original vintage Kenner accessory. I'm proud to put this on the figure, and let's take a look at him. So here's where we're at the end of part 1. We got old Boba Fett cleaned up with the power wash. We degrimed him, degreased him. We did not repaint him, nor did we touch up any of the paint flecks or any of the damage, because Jeremy Bulloch signed this figure as he was. I hope you enjoyed part 1. Stay tuned for part 2, where we craft the Wookiee braids to go over his right shoulder and complete this Boba Fett. Thank you so much for watching.